Can you hear me, guys? Can you hear me? Good. How are you? How are you guys? Tell me, how are you? Good, 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 good. Me too, Anurag. I'm also doing great. So we'll wait for a few more people to join and then we will start this class. Okay. And yeah, so we'll just hang on for some time. What about others? Only a couple of people have replied to my question. How have you been? How are you? Tell me. Good. Okay, so before we begin, while we wait for others to join us, just a couple of more minutes. Tell me what all have you been doing at your end, maybe in general for CAT prep and maybe specifically for the English section. Tell me, have you guys started with anything? Okay. Sagar doesn't have a clue, but then have you been doing anything at your end, or is it that because you don't have a clue, so you don't even know where to start, where to begin? Okay. Vishal, which book are you reading? And Shruti also, which book are you reading? Okay. And what do you mean by general reading, Prateek? Okay, Dopamine Nation. So is it about India or is it about nation? Basically means people who are they, because of the dopamine effects, they end up doing or not doing things, and hence the nation means everybody in that spectrum. Okay, Shruti. Okay. Okay, Harsh. So it's Vishal, it's not specifically about India, right? And this 21 lessons for 21st century, is this by the same person who wrote this, the second, what Prateek is saying, 12 rules, I think Jordan Peterson is his name. Is this 21 lessons by the same author? Oh, okay. Okay. Yuval Noah. Acha. Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah, I got it. Oh, all right. Basically, I think that book is extracts from his larger book called Homo Deus. I think, isn't it? That's what I think. So that book is like that. This 21 is like a sort of important points with respect to this. from that larger book. Yeah. So it's not really technically a third book. It is basically because he's becoming extremely popular because of Sapiens, and then because of Sapiens, the second book, Homo Deus, became popular. Because of that, he, of course, I'm sure at the recommendation of publishers, but of course, because money is good, so he just sort of condensed that second book and came up with a third book. A lot of people who didn't know this ended up buying the third one, who had bought the second one and maybe even read it, and suddenly they were in for a pretty sad surprise that, oh, it's that same book, just a condensed version. Okay, Shiva trilogy, Harsh. Okay, cool. And all right, so I think we should begin today's class. So the deal is how we will go about. There's no agenda for today's class. It's just that we're supposed to discuss general VARC prep. But how we'll go about it is that I'll first take the mic and I'll talk about certain important things you need to remember and things that you have to do. And then I hope this is not. My courier is supposed to come. I cut the call. I just hope it is not that. Just 1 second, okay, guys. Can't even call it back. Okay. So yeah, what I was saying is that we will discuss. So I will first tell you certain important things that you have to keep in mind. And then after that, I will hand it over to you, and then you can ask me whatever doubts you have, or whatever, not just doubts, but general questions that you want to ask me, how to go about it. And even though I'll tell you most of how to go about it. And so please pay attention so that we don't end up wasting time that you're asking me because you didn't pay attention. You end up asking me a question which I have already answered. So just pay attention. And I would recommend that you sit with a notebook in hand so that you can note down a few things that I talk about. Okay. You can obviously check with me later, but then it makes sense that in fact, those of you who already have joined a live class or our live course or plan to do so, this is the one of the most important things, that whenever you attend live class, or even if you're watching the self-study videos, ours or anybody else's, just sit with a notebook in hand and make notes. That is always good. And the benefit as compared to a physical class is that the physical class just carries on, whereas in this case you can always, not in a live class, but either in a recording or of a self-study thing, you can always pause it and make that note and then start it again. So that's the thing. So I will spend some time on what it is and how to go about it and so on. So let me just share. Okay. All of you, can you see the screen, the white screen? All right, my suggestion to you will be, when I'm talking, whatever doubt you have, try to note it down so that you can ask me later and let me finish. But if you think that it makes sense to ask the doubt then and there, then you can always raise your hand. There is an option to raise your hand and then ask me. And also I try to use the mic rather than the chat box. It makes more sense if possible. Okay, I understand in some cases it may not be because there is noise around you and so on, but if it is possible, then try to use the mic. Okay, all right. So basically, this is what we are here for: verbal ability and reading comprehension. This is a very strange thing which has developed. I don't know how it came about and what happened. Very similar to this word, quants. Both of these are wrong in the sense that VARC, verbal ability and reading comprehension. The deal is that verbal ability includes reading comprehension. So, earlier we used to call it only VA. I don't know, for some reason, suddenly it turned into VARC. So I don't like to use it, but I use it because otherwise you guys will get confused, because what people think is that the VARC section, the VARC, which should be VA section, but anyway, the VARC section, according to people, is made up of two things: RC and everything else. RC is RC and everything else is VA, which is not technically correct. RC itself is a part of verbal ability. I mean, it is verbal ability, of course. That is one thing. The other thing is this quants, which everybody uses these days. Again, it is wrong, at least English-wise, because it comes from quantitative aptitude. And so it is not similar to mathematics. Maths, you use this S because of mathematics. So it ends with S. And so the short form has this. Whereas quantitative aptitude has no S. And so there is nothing known as quants. But yeah, everybody uses it. So what to do? All right. So coming back, so we are going to focus on CAT. That is what Takshzila focuses on. But I will also talk about a couple of extra things which come in other exams. Now, in CAT, so let me erase this. In CAT, for many years, three things have come in the verbal section, okay? RC, and then parajumbles, two types: normal parajumbles and odd ones out. Now, normal, basically, those of you who don't know, parajumbles are, you're given a set of 4, 5, 6 sentences. Lately, there has been only 4 sentence type. Ever since parajumbles have become what is known as theta. Theta is type in the answer. So basically, theta means you're not given any answer choice. You're just given a box and you're supposed to click inside it and you're supposed to mark. I think it is numeric. So you're supposed to mark the answer. Sorry, you're supposed to type in the answer. I'm so sorry. You're supposed to type in the answer. That's why type in the answer. You're supposed to type it. And theta questions do not carry negative marks. So ever since parajumbles have become theta questions, mostly they have been 4 sentence types, but once in a while, even 5 sentence types. But before theta, the parajumbles were 3 types: 4 sentence types, 5 sentence types, and 6 sentence type. In 6 sentence types, mostly the first and 6 sentences were fixed, which means they were given to us. We didn't have to do anything. And the middle 4 were sort of jumbled up, and you're supposed to figure out, you're supposed to figure out the correct arrangement. That was the 6. But otherwise, in 4 or 5 sentence types, you're given 4 or 5 sentences which are jumbled up or not jumbled up, but you're supposed to pick up an answer choice which puts them in the correct sequence, in the correct order. So now in theta, you don't have to pick an answer choice like that. You have to type in the answer. So in theta parajumble questions, now this could be a quant question or a summary question or something, but in theta, you would have to do something like this, okay, in parajumble. So that is what the deal is. So And odd ones out basically were questions or are questions wherein you're given 5 sentences. I mean, this is what has happened ever since odd ones out have become theta questions. In fact, as far as I remember, odd ones out got introduced when theta was brought in place. I don't think odd ones out were before that. Anyway, either way, so you're given a set of 5 sentences. 4 of them, and they are jumbled up, okay? 4 of them form a parajumble. So 4 of them are a sequence. One of them doesn't belong. And you have to pick that as the answer choice. And in this case, you'll have to pick an answer choice like this, like third is not the answer and whatever. And the last one was summary or is summary questions. So basically, you're given a paragraph and you're supposed to pick up an answer choice, which is the best summary / essence of that particular paragraph. So let me call it summary / essence. So the instructions of this are, pay attention, below are 4 alternative summaries given of this paragraph. Choose the one that best encapsulates the essence of the paragraph. So below are 4 alternative summaries given. Choose the one that best encapsulates the essence. So it is, so technically there is a difference between a summary and an essence, which is that essence is just the main idea, the central idea. But summary is something more than the central idea, meaning a couple of more important points. However, in the summary questions of CAT, it is more often than not just the essence. So in rare cases, it could be, essence as well as 1 or maximum 2 more important points, but mostly it is essence. So generally speaking, the summary question of CAT is the main idea question, or you can call it as a central idea question. These were the 3 questions which came for about 4-5 years, okay, all 3 of them. What happened this year was that, okay, by the way, this was the majority of the chunk. So when there were 34 questions, so let me just tell you, when there were 34 questions in total in verbal, then 24 questions were RC. This also happened for various years. Then COVID happened. And because of COVID, so before COVID, CAT was of a longer duration, but because of COVID, they brought it back to sort of shorter duration. And in which case, the first year they came up with 26 questions, and the second and the third year is this year, they came up with 24 questions, okay? Total questions, of which 16 questions were from RC. I've forgotten what happened here, but I think it was 16 only. It could be maximum 18, but I think. Anyway, so 16 questions of RC. Now think about it. So this is a huge majority. Keep this in mind, okay? Okay, now what happened in 2022 was that, again, RC, 16 questions. Parajumble was only normal parajumbles. 3 questions. So in these 2, 3, 2, and 3. Okay. So 6 into 8, 24 and 8. 16 and 8, 24. This was the deal in 2020 and 2021. This year, what happened was, again, 6 here. Normal parajumbles 3. Summary essence, again 3. And then they came up with something called para completion, 2 questions. So now this, I was surprised that few students were like, they've come up with a new kind of question. A lot of people were calling it fill in the blanks, because the last, they gave us, let's say this is a paragraph. So they gave us this, okay. And then the last sentence, there's a blank. And basically we have to pick up an answer choice that best fits it. So people started calling it fill in the blanks. Why am I saying that I was surprised is because the para completion before these 3, 4, 5 years came for many, many years in CAT. So it wasn't a new type of question. And we did it here, like I did it with my students, but I did it towards the end. And of course, as you will see, those of you who are live students, that the enthusiasm somehow starts fading as time moves on, and fewer people attend classes, which is a mistake. So anyway, but that is how it is. Okay, so yeah, so it wasn't a new kind of question. It just, they asked it after a gap of a few years. And so there wasn't any odd one out, which I think was a good thing, because odd ones out are, because they're teeter questions, there are no choices available. They, even parajumbles for that matter, since there are no choices available, they become very, very difficult. Parajumbles with choices are difficult questions, you know, to put them in sequence. Without choices, they become all the more difficult. And then odd ones out are still more difficult. As para completion, I think, are a better question than odd ones out. Not because they are easier questions, but they are more, they actually test something which is more legitimate, you know, than asking an odd one out, which is very strange question. So anyway, however, and the good news, at least this year, was that these para completion questions were very easy. So now the problem is that a lot of kids, because they were like, oh, this is a new kind of question, I've never seen it, you know, because they didn't pay attention during the preparation and all that. I mean, I had been telling them, please go through previous minimum 10-year CAT verbal questions and, you know, so on. But as, I don't know, I'm sure you guys know that kids don't listen. I mean, quite a few don't listen. Few listen. So those of them who listened and attended the class and all, for them it was damn easy, because whatever. Now these, a lot of students, because they were like, oh, this is a new kind of question, and so they didn't even attempt it, because they were like, it's a new, I don't want to do it, it's a new. And so they missed out on this amazing opportunity. Why? Because as I said, they were very easy questions. So the lesson for you is, even if you genuinely come across a new kind of question, like a kind of question which has not been asked before in CAT, or you don't know that it has been asked or not asked, I don't think you should straight away leave it thinking that it's a new kind and so what the hell. No. Verbal ability is not like maths, and this is something that I will spend some time in some time, but right now let me just say it in brief. Verbal ability is not like maths, in which most things depend on theory, meaning do you know those things. Verbal ability is completely unlike that, in that if you take care of your language skills, you don't need any theory. In fact, if you ask me, there isn't any theory. I mean, we have created theories, like I have and others have, so as to sort of explain certain things to you, but technically there isn't any theory, and there can't be, you know. So you shouldn't, you know, suppose you get a question, suppose in CAT, I'm just giving you a hypothetical example. Let's say calculus has never been asked, and which it hasn't. I mean, very easy type of maximum minimum is probably asked once in a while. But anyway, suppose calculus has never been asked, and you get a question and you never did any theories, then there's no, I mean, you won't be able to do it. So then it makes sense to skip it. It is not the case in verbal. I mean, they cannot give you anything in verbal which depends on your knowing some theory. And so don't skip it, you know, just give it a shot and it might just click. Okay. So anyway, so this is what happened in 2022. So if you And anyway, okay, what is a para completion question? Basically, you're given a paragraph with supposedly the last sentence missing. This supposedly is very important. I don't want to spend time on it here. We will spend time on it when we will do this theory. So forget about it right now. But as of now, the deal is that you're given a paragraph with supposedly the last sentence missing, and you just have to pick up the best from the answer choices, which suits that last sentence, which is a blank as of now, which suits it best. So now, if you think about summary and if you think about para completion, they are a different way of testing your RC. Because what is RC? RC is reading comprehension. So basically, they're asking you, comprehension means understanding, meaning, so reading comprehension means, can you understand or have you understood this particular passage that we gave you just now? So that's the meaning of comprehension, to understand something. To comprehend is to understand. So summary, as I said, it's a main idea question. Main idea is one of the most important questions of RC. And para completion, again, if you want to figure out what follows, then you should have understood what came before. Only then will you be able to choose from the given choices which is the best that could follow. So it's again RC. So summary is an RC. I mean, a shorter RC. Para completion is RC. So that brings me to the fact that it is not just that 16 questions out of 24 are RCs. No, you include these 3 and then 19 questions become RC questions. Sorry, in this case 19, and in this case 3 and 2, 5. And so 16 and 5, 21 questions are from RC. I mean, I can even justify para jumbles also as a form of RC. I mean, if you think about it, what is it? You're given a set of 4 or 5 sentences from a paragraph, right? I mean, they were originally in sequence. And they pick those 5 sentences or 4 sentences and they put them in a random order and gave it to you. And you're just supposed to rearrange them in the correct order or in the original order. How do you do that? On what basis? Meaning, what skill do you need to be able to do that? Again, comprehension skills. You know, you need to understand sentences. You need to understand connections that, just a very basic example that furthermore will come later, okay, than something general. For example, will come later because it is an example of something. These are very basic examples, but this is what it is, so it's reading skills. So if you ask me, as far as CAT is concerned, it all comes down to reading skills. Completely reading skills. That's it. There is nothing else to it. And so as far as CAT is concerned, you have to build on this. I'll talk about this. So this is what I want to spend time on today, that how do we improve this? So let me tell you a very amazing thing, okay, an interesting thing. And that is, I'm going to tell you certain steps or certain things you can do to improve your reading skills and effectively to become better at English, become better at language. And so here's the interesting, and some of you might find it astonishing. Here's an astonishing and a very interesting fact. If you do whatever I'll ask you to do, now, first of all, remember, we are dealing with a language. Okay, so in this case, English. And for a moment, think of your language, whatever is your mother tongue. It could be Hindi, Telugu, Punjabi, whatever it is. Whatever your mother tongue is, if somebody wants to become good at that, especially to be able to do RCs in your language, that it won't be a 15-day or a 20-day or a 2 months process. It won't be, which is what brings me to what I was talking about some time back when I said that it is very different from maths. A little bit I explained then, but let me just explain it more. Okay. Guys, I'm using VA for VARC. Okay, just keep that in mind. Verbal ability. So it includes everything, RC and the rest of the questions. Now, the thing is that QA or maths or whatever is, you can look at it as an event. What does that mean? That if I want to denote it pictorially, then this is how it looks like. I mean, it's a point in time. I'll explain what it means. Whereas VA, because it deals with language, it could be any language, it could be your mother tongue, don't forget that, okay, is a process. And so if you compare the dot with this, then it looks like this. It looks like a line. Whereas a dot is an event, meaning it has a start point and it has an end point. So the dot could be small or big. But what I mean by an event is that it has a starting point and it has an ending point. The starting point and ending point will, especially the ending point, will differ from person to person, depending on their basic aptitude in maths or their prior knowledge of it, or, general intelligence. But the good news is that sooner or later, some people sooner, some people later, if you are sincere and you work towards it, let's take any topic. So let's take time, speed, and distance, TSD. Some people will be able to do it in 2 days flat, maybe 1 day, rarely, but there are people like that. And some people may take 15 days. But what I'm trying to get at is that if anybody who is serious and sincere and works towards it will be able to do it, whether in 2 days or in 15 days or in 7 days or whatever. But if I give you 15 days to do something in verbal, it is generally not possible because it is a process. It is a language, I don't know if you know anybody who's trying to learn your mother tongue, ask that person, or you guys know, right? I mean, because English, I mean, you know what it is, right? So it is a process. And so it takes time, which is why I said that, you can take care of quant, but taking care of English is not so easy because it is a language and it takes its own time. Okay, having said that, the same thing, if you're sincere and if you work towards it, there is nothing known as you will be able to take care of it. That concept doesn't exist in a language. So obviously it doesn't exist in RVA prep. So it's not like TSD, you should be able to do it in this time. No, but you will, I can guarantee that you will keep getting better and you will become better provided you do these things. Coming back to the interesting and astonishing thing that I spoke about, which I haven't mentioned yet, is that if you do whatever I will ask you to do in today's class, you don't need any coaching for VA. Let's call it VARC so that everybody understands. You don't need any coaching. You don't need from me or from anybody else. If you do what I ask you to do. All right. Which is not the case with maths, because if you don't understand certain things, you may be able to do it with the help of books or, YouTube or I don't know what, but having the help of a person always helps. The same is true in English, I think, but not required is what I'm saying. You can do it on your own. Later on, you may require the help of somebody for doubts, when you're preparing. So for doubts, you may require, but otherwise, if you do what I will ask you to do in the next few, for the next 20 minutes or so, you don't need any coaching for VARC. All right. So this is the interesting and to some of you, the astonishing part. And it is more astonishing because I don't know if you've spoken to your seniors or anybody who has prepared or gotten through or whatever. It is more astonishing because a lot of them will tell you that it is very difficult. The VA section, eventually, they don't realize it until CAT is done. Unfortunately, most people realize this when they take CAT and then they come out of the center, and that is when it hits them that why didn't I pay attention to VA? So that's very, very unfortunate. And again, the one reason is what I've already told you, that most of them, most sincere students, I'm not talking about random students, most sincere students will not feel that about QA because of the fact that it is an event. So if they are sincere, if they give it time, studied hard, they would have taken care of a lot of quant framework. But the same is not true for VA, even if something was lacking. Okay, so keep that in mind, and you don't be one of those who realizes this after CAT. My intention is to make you realize this right now so that you take care of it. Okay. And since it is a process, it is going to be an everyday thing for you. As I said, it is not something you will be able to do in even 2 months. And so if you do whatever I'm asking, let's say with sincerity, hard work, motivation for 2 months, and you don't see too much improvement, then there's a decent chance and a very obvious chance that you may think, what the hell, it's not happening. I might as well spend my time improving my QA and maybe LR. That's a mistake. Because the thing is, you may not see conspicuous, meaning conspicuous means which is apparent, like which strikes out, which jumps off a page, okay, which you can see. So you may not see conspicuous changes or difference in after 2 months, but that does not mean nothing has happened. You may suddenly see change after, let's say, 5 months. But when you will see change after 5 months, 3 months back, the after 2 months thing, that thing also, where you were 3 months back, which to you didn't seem much, that also would have played a huge role in the overall 5 months thing. So do not forget this, that what should I say? The milestones, the milestones are not so distinct and so apparent and so obvious in your VARC preparation. The milestones are not very apparent, whereas in case of QA, they are very apparent. Like there are these topics, and so you either know that topic or you don't know that topic. It is extremely obvious. That is not the case with your verbal, meaning even the question, do you know, let's say TSD, how do you translate this into an English thing? Do you know what? I mean, so suppose the question is, do you know RC? Does that question have a meaning? It doesn't mean anything. Or do you know vocabulary? Well, what does it mean, do you know vocabulary? I mean, I know, let's say past 3 months, I worked hard, and so I know 300 or 400 more difficult words than I did 3 months back. That is what I can tell you. But I can't answer the question, do you know vocabulary? It's unanswerable. Because just look at the size of a good dictionary. And a good dictionary, single volume, is still only chosen words. It doesn't include all the words. So that's the problem. So, which is why there are no milestones, and so you won't be able to see changes in your initial part of your prep. You won't be able to see obvious difference in your level. You will be able to see difference, okay, but maybe not as obvious as maths. But if you do what I'm saying, and if you persist and you don't give up, there will come a time when suddenly you will see pretty significant difference. And then everything that you did will start falling in place. Whereas if you give up after those 2 months, as I was talking about, then what? Then you're back to square one. All right, so that is what is important. So now, coming back to the fact that basically we are looking at reading skills. So the number one thing you have to do is read. Okay. Now, here's the thing with read. To start with, you can read anything, especially those of you who are either weak in English or who know that English is not their strength or not their strong area. Especially these people. Please start with anything. I will give you a little bit more help here. Start with something that you would love, but then suppose you haven't read, then how do you answer the question, what do I love to read? No, so I don't mean start with something that you love to read, but start with something that you love to watch. This, I think, is true for all of us. Most of you will, I think it will be true. I doubt if there is anybody sitting in this class who doesn't watch anything. So whatever you love to watch, whether it is a movie, whether it is movies or it is series or it is YouTube videos or whatever. So basically, what is it that what kind of things that you love to watch in movies, series, wherever? So let's say you love to watch mysteries. Damn cool. That's what you have to read now. So read mystery novels. Novel is a fictional book. Fiction means not real, not factual. So in Hindi, it is called kalpanik. I don't know other languages, so I don't know what is called in other things, but yeah, based on imagination, not necessarily true. There are aspects which are true, obviously, but the whole intention is to give you fictionalized thing. So you start with mystery novels. Suppose you love to watch love stories, whether in movies or in series. Well, you pick up books like that. These days, a lot of people, by that I mean kids your age, they really like watching these. I don't know if they're called anime or something. They are called these cartoon sort of things, especially Japanese ones. I'm forgetting the name, and I know the name not because I've watched, but because a few kids, a few students of mine put their name in their DP like that. What is the name? I'm forgetting. Yeah. So anyway, so the thing is, so if you watch that, why don't you start with the comics only, I think manga comics or whatever. You start with those comics, and then you try to pick up non-pictorial books or novels on similar lines, which don't have pictures. You can start with pictures, absolutely fine, the actual comics one, but then sooner or later you will have to go on to novels and so on. So anyway, that is the basic deal. So start reading anything straight away, something that you would like to read. There are people who, instead of that, generally like to read fact-based thing, which is known as non-fiction. Okay, so non-fiction. So non-fiction is based on, as far as possible, based on facts, information, real things, true things, and so on. A lot of people like to do that. So, for example, Sapiens, somebody spoke about, is non-fiction. Then somebody is talking about 12 rules for life and whatever, all that. So those are non-fiction books. Okay. So you can start with non-fiction if that is your thing. But if that is not your thing, then you can start with fiction and whatever. Anyway, the idea is that you need to, the idea is that, why am I saying that you need to, you should start reading or start with anything, especially the kind of things you love to watch. So you start reading those kind of things is because I want you to, I think calling it falling in love with reading would be expecting too much. Most people will probably never fall in love with reading. Some people do, even those who have never read. Some people, I'm talking about my students, they end up falling in love with it, but most people never do, for various reasons. So I don't expect that. But at the very least, this is what I expect. You will get in the groove of it, So reading for you may not turn out to be one of the most amazing things in life. I mean, I hope it does, but it may not, and it is fine. But it may definitely turn out to be the opposite of what the hell, like right now, quite a few of you, reading will be like that. Reading will be, I mean, what the hell? I mean, am I supposed to do this, a boring thing, onerous thing, meaning very sort of difficult, hard work, cumbersome, boring, and so on. But it won't be that, especially if you read what you're loving to do. Once you get into the groove of it, then you will have to graduate. Why? Because remember, we are preparing for CAT and so on. And so you graduate to non-fiction. This is the deal, and not just non-fiction in general, but serious non-fiction. So nothing like 12 rules of life or whatever like that. Serious non-fiction, something which is slightly heavy, or even more than slightly heavy. So that's the aim. And most importantly, so we have to reach a level where we are not just reading this, but we are reading from a variety of sources, from a variety of areas, a variety of genres, a variety of subject matters, and so on. Okay. So passages in CAT and elsewhere, the most difficult are CAT and XAT. Passages come from pure sciences, which are the genuine, the true, the real sciences, physics, chemistry, biology, and subsets of these things. Social sciences, which is a very broad term, which includes sociology, anthropology. Some people say economics, psychology are also a part of this, but I will write them separately. Psychology, philosophy, literature. While literature, please do not confuse it with fiction. Literature is fiction, but the literature that I'm talking about, it is non-fiction on fiction. By that, I mean, let's say a movie has come out or a book has come out, then somebody has written a review on that or a critical analysis of that, or some views on that. That is what I mean by literature. Basically on literature. Okay, so that is what I mean, not fiction. And then, of course, you have business and economics. So these are the broad areas from which you get passages. And so when I'm using the word diverse, this is what I mean, that you try to read from each one of these on and off, especially what you're not good at. And there's apart from seeing your performance in a particular, suppose a passage, whenever a passage comes from, let's say, philosophy, you mess it up. That is one way to figure it out. The other way to figure out what you're not good at is what you find boring. Now, this might surprise you, but it's actually a very decent indication. So if you find something boring, if you don't like it, it automatically means that you avoid it. And so you don't really go for it, read it, find out about it. And so automatically you don't know more about it because you don't seek it. And so automatically you'll be weak at it. Hence the connection. Okay, so very easy way to check what you're not good at or what will trouble you in passage if it comes. Suppose you have not done a single passage, you're just at the reading stage. A very nice way to figure out what kind of passages will trouble you is the kind of things you find extremely boring and you want to avoid them. Now, so eventually, not right now, but eventually those are the very things you should spend more time on, because that's how you become good at it. I mean, it's commonsensical. I don't even have to explain it, right? I mean, if you are not good at, let's say, algebra, and you figure out that a whole lot of questions are from algebra, and so if I leave algebra, suppose for CAT preparation, then the kind of question, the topics that I will be left with, I will have to be so good at them to be able to clear the cutoff that it probably won't be possible. And so it makes sense that even though I find it difficult and boring, I spend some time with algebra. The same applies here, that you may think that what's the point of reading philosophy? I mean, max to max one passage will come from philosophy. I'll leave it. Yeah, no problem. But then what you're doing is you are thinking and expecting that the other 3 passages, let's say, so there have been 4 passages past 3 years. So what you're expecting and hoping for is that the other 3 passages you'll be able to just fly. Not so simple. Okay, so that's the thing. So you need to deliberately, consciously read those things which trouble you, which you find boring, which you find uninteresting, which you want to leave, which you want to skip. Not right now. There are many months for this, guys. We have a lot of time. You have started at exactly the perfect time. So there's a lot of time. You don't have to do this right now. Believe me, for the first couple of months, just read whatever you want to read. But please read. Please read. Okay, that is very, very important. And now we come to vocab, which is asked directly in other exams. CAT doesn't ask it. In rare case, it asks you vocab in an RC question. So it asks you what is known as vocab in context. So it gives you, picks up a word from the passage and asks you, what does it mean as per the passage? And they generally ask you only if that word has been used in the passage in the non-primary sense, meaning a lot of words have a primary meaning and then they have a secondary and in some cases even a tertiary meaning. So they ask you the meaning of a word only, generally speaking, only if a non-primary meaning is what that word has been used as in the passage. Okay, so that is the thing. But otherwise it is not asked, but it is asked in SNAP, it is asked in NMAT and so on. So vocab is asked in a lot of exams, but not just for that. Vocab is important even for CAT, because as you know that to be able to comprehend, remember comprehension is the most important thing as far as CAT is concerned. To be able to comprehension basically means you are able to comprehend the passage, which means you're able to comprehend paragraphs, which means you're able to comprehend sentences, which means you're able to comprehend words. And so the moment it comes to words, it comes to vocabulary. Okay, so most sentences will not have a word which will harm you, which will trouble you, but there will be sentences which will have that. And so if there are enough number of sentences which have these words in a passage or the text that you're reading, then it may create a problem. Okay, and it'll slow you down. You may have to reread things. It may scare you and so on. So a lot of things happen. And so to make sure that this situation doesn't arise, one has to work on vocab. Okay, now there are two ways of working in vocab. So I will call them, one as the organic way and one as let's call it the mechanical way, or let's call it artificial. So organic is again through reading. Okay, so as you're reading, a lot of your vocab will be automatically improve without you doing anything. Believe me. Okay, believe me, trust me. You don't have to go to the dictionary all the time, figure out the meaning. If you read enough and regularly, your vocab will automatically improve without your going to the dictionary. All you have to do is develop the skill of figuring out meaning from context. I will talk about this in another class. I'll give you examples of how to go about it, but this is what it is. And believe me, quite often you will be able to figure it out. Meaning, if you know what is being talked about and suddenly there is a word in a sentence that you haven't understood, if you pay attention to what came before and little bit what will come later, or what has come later, you will be able to guess the roundabout meaning of this word, and you don't have to figure out the exact meaning. It's not necessary. Okay, so a lot of it will be that. However, I will also suggest that you note these words down that you come across which are difficult. Okay, especially the ones that you couldn't figure out the contextual meaning of, especially those ones. The contextual ones, you don't have to note down and whatever. I mean, you can if you want to, but because, as I said, why is reading enough and reading a lot important is that suppose you don't go to a dictionary, you guess the roundabout meaning of this word. If you read enough, a lot of these words will keep coming again and again. And so, it'll keep getting reinforced, and you will suddenly understand more or less the precise meaning of the word without ever having had to check the meaning of the word, which is pretty amazing. But but you should note the words down, and so basically you should have a notebook. You should have a vocab notebook. And how to note the words down is, you shouldn't go to the dictionary when you're reading. It'll break the flow. It'll make it more boring, more cumbersome. Don't do that. Figure out as much as is possible the meaning from context. If you cannot figure out, it's okay. Keep reading. And the most amazing thing is that you will find that knowing the meaning of every word is overrated. It is not necessary. You don't need to know the meaning of every word of what you're reading. And you'll realize this. You'll just have to trust me on this. And you'll see that, yeah, that is how it is. And so you also have to develop that trait, because no matter how much you develop your vocab, it is still possible that there are words and passages which come in CAT that you don't know. So you have to prepare, keeping that in mind, that, what do I do in that scenario when the dictionary won't even be available? So don't go to the dictionary then and there. So I've given you, broadly speaking, 2 reasons why not to go to the dictionary. One, because it will make the whole process extremely boring, and the flow will break and all that. But also because you need to develop this thing that I need to understand from what is available to me without any external aid. All right. But later on, either after reading that thing straight away, or you can keep a time of the day for, let's say, you can call it as the dictionary time, 15 minutes, I think. And you go to the words that you have underlined in newspapers or whatever, and then you note them down. And then you don't have to cram them. Okay. This is very important. You don't have to cram them. You just keep going through them on a regular basis. And by going through them, I mean the first day, okay, the first day of those. So let's say today you ended up writing, today is your first day of your notebook, vocab notebook. So today, let's say you noted down 10 words. So today, before going to sleep, just have a look at those 10 words. Cool, done. Tomorrow, let's say you ended up writing 7 more words from wherever you came across. So now 17 words. Now what you have to do at night, when you just before going to sleep, when you're going through that, the yesterday's 10 words, you hide the meaning and you guess the meaning and then check whether you're right or wrong. Ignore it. But ignore it, by that I mean right now, ignore it. I mean, it's not important whether you're right or wrong. I will give the logic of this, and there's a very amazing logic later in some class, but right now we don't have time for that. So right now, just listen to what I'm saying. It doesn't matter that your guess is right or wrong. What matters is that you have to guess, even if it is wrong. And then you check, then guess the second, check, guess, check. And you don't cram. The 7 of today, again, just go through them. And this is what you have to keep repeating. So again, tomorrow, 17 words you will guess, check. And whatever you ended up writing that day, you will just go through them once. Don't have to cram. And you will see that it'll be extremely amazing. I mean, the result will be extremely amazing. It sounds as if, don't I have to cram? No, you don't have to. All right, so this is the deal. The artificial way of doing a vocab is either you pick up a vocab book or a word list. Vocab book is a book like Word Power Made Easy, very popular book, Norman Lewis, and lots of other books. Word list is just a list of difficult words and so on. Vocab book is still better than a word list in the sense that at least there are stories behind words, the history is given and all that, and there are quizzes and so on. So one can do that. Word list is extremely mechanical and artificial. You just have to sort of, try to memorize the words. Now, if your memory is extremely amazing, probably it'll make sense, but to most people, it won't make sense. You will forget it. Also, we have enough time. And so it makes sense that you do this because we have a lot of time. So make it organic. And remember, I haven't made it difficult. It's not difficult. You don't even have to go to the dictionary when you're reading. You don't have to note down all the words, and you don't have to cram them. So I don't think it is as difficult as it seemed. Maybe it seemed to you before this. Okay. Yeah. So now beyond this, so let me just spend some time on something here. Just give me one moment. Can you see this? Can you see this web page? All right. Now, there are lots of places where you can read online. I will recommend that you read books. I'll talk about it in a moment, but suppose you're reading online, if not right now you should focus on books, but later on. So now this is what you have to do. I'm giving you an example from Eon because it is easy through Eon, but this is what you should do anyway. So let's say Eon, and let's say this is the very first article, and you read Thriving on Mars is the title, and the subtitle is Dust storms, long distances, and freezing temperatures make living on Mars magnificently challenging. How will we do it? So we've understood that this passage is, or this essay is going to be about the challenges of living on Mars in case humans want to do that, or try to do that. So now suppose you read this and you found it either very interesting or you found it difficult, or whatever. Now pay attention to this. At the end of this, in Eon especially, there are these tags given, meaning the topics or subject matter to which this particular essay belongs. So it belongs to astronomy, cosmology, and space exploration. So these are the three things to which this essay belongs. Now suppose after reading, you figure out that it was the astronomy part that was difficult for you. So now when you click on astronomy, you will see that astronomy belongs to a bigger set called science. And here is astronomy. And since this is of a different color than these, we are anyway on an astronomy page of science. And so each one of these will be from astronomy. So let's say if I go to telescopes on the moon and I go, see, it is from astronomy. It is also from space, and it is from something called deep time. So anyway, coming back to the previous page. So suppose it troubled you, or you found it interesting, then you have all these essays and even videos which deal with astronomy. And then these are the other topics in science. So let's say there is physics, paleontology. Okay, so physics has, so these are all from physics. So this is one way. Or if you go to menu in Eon, then these are these 5 main topics. Remember, science we already saw. These 5 main topics are already given, and each one will have subtopics. So for example, philosophy. These are the subtopics in philosophy: beauty and aesthetics, bioethics, comparative philosophy, metaphysics, political philosophy, and whatever. So here's this essay called Moral Mathematics, subjecting the problems of ethics to the cool. So we can guess that the subtopic, down below, one of them will be probably ethics. It could also be maths or something. Let's see. Yeah, see, I was right. So it's ethics, it's maths, and it is logic and probability. So whatever in this essay would give you trouble, or you found interesting and you want to know more, either because it gave you trouble or because you liked it, well, you go here, let's say maths, and these are the various essays on it and videos and all that. This is something that you should do anyway, not just on Eon. Eon is a nice place. And CAT has been giving passages. Even this year they gave. Every year they pick up at least one short thing from here, meaning they give an extract from a passage, from an essay. But then wherever else you want to go, you should do that. Okay, so now this is what you have to do. However, as I said, you have to read books, and sooner or later you have to move to non-fiction. So again, I'll give you so these books are called very short introductions. Okay. Yeah. So, for example, this is philosophy, very short introduction. Okay. And these are very thin books. They're usually 100, 120 pages. This one is, the text is 118 pages, and after that there are notes and everything. So, and very, very small books, and they introduce things to you. Very nice, interesting books. So this is philosophy. This is Buddhism. This is Russell, Bertrand Russell, very great philosopher of 20th century. Descartes, again, modern philosopher. Political philosophy, music, Cold War, capitalism, fascism, Hegel philosopher, and so on. So whatever you can think of, it's very likely that the book, there is a very short introduction book on that. Very Short Introduction is a series by Oxford University Press. And so, for example, these are the various books. See, and now this would have increased. The topics in very short introduction. I'll just read a few to you. Psychology, quantum theory, continental philosophy, cryptography, cosmology, animal rights, 20th century Britain, terrorism, politics, Plato, logic, the Quran, Hinduism, Islam, dreaming, the Raj. Remember the Raj, the British Raj, the elements, which would be from chemistry, I think, existentialism, the First World War, and so on. Okay, so nice place to start getting introduced to a few things, various topics. So my suggestion will be read books. So there are many reasons to read books. So one of the very important ones today is that reading online is very distracting. It's a distraction machine. I'm sure all of you know that. I mean, you, with all the motivation, all the right intention, you go to read something online, and without you knowing it, within 15 minutes, you are reading something completely unrelated to what you started because of the hyperlinks and something. Or maybe you are watching a video because you wanted to watch a video which on something that you didn't understand, but then by the time you wake up from that trance, you're not even watching the video on that thing. You're watching some, I don't know, wrestling match or some Japanese cartoon thing or something. So yeah, I'm sure you know that. So, which is why go to books. The other very important reason why to read book is that a book, non-fiction book, is on one topic. And so a lot of research has gone into it. A book is not something that one day somebody sat down to write like a online thing and you just wrote it and it came out. And some of it is based on research, but then how much can you do? Not too much. There is a lot of pressure. Every day you have to, publish things and so on. And so in terms of gravity, not even comparable to a book. So some good books have taken their authors years to write. Okay, so and the whole concentration and the entire thing has gone into that one topic that the author wanted to talk about. And so that same thing will get in your head. You'll get to know about that one thing at a very, very deep level. And that is the meaning of knowledge. Okay, knowledge is not reading 10 things at a very shallow level, like 10 articles. So a thing which is very popular with students is the lists of articles and, whatever, 5 articles every day or 10 or whatever. I personally think if at all, then you should do it like, let's say from July onward, maybe, but not right now. It's a waste of time. You think you're doing something, but you're not. I mean, you're reading 5, 7 different articles, none of which you know anything deeply about. What's the point? So which is why it obviously doesn't help. My God, how much I spoke. Very short introduction, Altaf. Well, it's the series. I don't know if you're asking about a specific one of these, but yeah, very short introduction is the name of the series by Oxford University Press. All right, so I'm done. I'm even thirsty now. So you please ask me questions, but just give me one moment. I'll just have water and then I'll come back. Yes, tell me now. What are you still left with questions, or have I taken care of most of them?
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, Pratik.
I'm struggling with the grammar, mostly the tenses and how to use them. So, any suggestion about it?
So if you're sitting here for CAT, then if you so since we have a lot of time, if you start reading again, grammar will be taken care of organically. So again, there are two ways of doing grammar: organic and sort of mechanical. So a lot of it will become second nature to you, because you're reading, and as long as you're reading good things. I mean, I'm not talking about reading Chetan Bhagat and all these recent popular authors. Okay, no, not that. I'm talking about eventually graduating to good books. Right now, you can read whatever you want to read Chetan Bhagat, please do so. But eventually, as I said, you have to graduate to better books and so on. In that case, you will come across correct sentences, in fact, amazing sentences written by great writers. And so you will automatically become good at it. Okay, now the artificial thing you will anyway have to do in grammar because of the exams and whatever, but that will, you should, so since fortunately it is not asked in CAT, but again, just we don't know CAT. CAT has asked grammar in the past. So let's say just 1 month before CAT, you should do grammar. And if you're our student, let's say VRC student, whether live or self-study, then we have a full-fledged grammar module, which you should do with lots of questions. But suppose you're not a VRC student or not a student anyway, then you...
No, I am a student.
Yeah, so from wherever you want, then you can. So I'm just talking to everybody. So you can do it from wherever, and wherever there is grammar theory and all that, and you should just practice those. So that's it. But right now you don't have to worry about it at all. But you have to worry about everything that I've talked about in today's class. Then it shouldn't be.
Okay, I have a question on reading also. I read somewhere that you should be reading so fast that you should not read those all the sentences in your mind. Okay,
Yeah,
just by
that
looking
is
at it.
yeah, and believe me, if you can see behind me, you know that. I mean, it should be obvious what reading means to me and so on. So I have spent money, energy, and time on this because if there is one thing I have always wanted in life is to read more and faster. But all of it turned out to be absolute nonsense, like complete nonsense. And I've spent money. Like I'm talking about in 2000 and in 2003 or 2004, okay, when I had just started teaching, I ordered a course called photo reading from US, which in 2003 was for 12,000 rupees. Anyway, so it's all complete nonsense. Remind me, I will share something in the group on this. I'll share an article from a science magazine, a very short article. So it's absolute nonsense, and don't worry about it. Whatever reading speed, your reading speed is a function of your knowledge, which means familiarity with what you're reading, which is why I want you to read diverse stuff eventually. Because the more familiar you are with variety of things, the easier it is to read a subsequent thing on those areas. And so automatically your speed will be higher. And reading speed is never a straight line. Reading speed is always a thing, even within some, not just between subject matter. No, but even within a subject matter. So even if you're reading, let's say, an Eon article, a good reading thing in that, I shouldn't call it speed, is this. A good reading speed is this, so there are times when you will slow down because it is complex and it is unfamiliar, and there are times when you can just read through it very fast because you've already read something similar earlier and all that. This is the closest that you can come to what you were saying in terms of skipping. So it is not really skipping, it is just zooming through it so fast because you already know it. But I know these reading speed concepts which people try to sell or talk about, skimming and removing sub-vocalization. Oh, I know all these things. Most of it has been scientifically also. I figured it out long back that there's something wrong because I'm not improving. But science also has now figured out that doesn't work like that. Human brain and our eyes they don't work like that. Okay,
Sure.
now Altaf, I don't know. This was the first one I showed. This one. Did you mean this? Philosophy, very short introduction. So I showed philosophy. I showed Descartes. I showed Bertrand Russell. I showed Buddhism. I showed political philosophy. I showed Hegel. I showed fascism, capitalism, Cold War, and I showed music. Okay. So Swapnil, it depends on when you're taking GMAT. If you're taking GMAT towards when you will be roundabout when you'll be taking CAT, then as of now you don't have to do anything. A couple of months before GMAT, you will have to see, basically verbal, the theory is more or less the same, at least if you're doing with us, meaning with me, because when I designed the English course, I designed it keeping in mind GMAT, because I'm sort of biased towards GMAT. I don't like CAT. Whatever. So anyway, so everything is catered to GMAT as well. Grammar, critical reasoning, and reading comprehension. So you don't have to worry about that. And 2 months before before GMAT, you will have to pick up an OG. You start with one and then you can move on to more OGs, official guide. And that's it. You just have to do that. And then whatever OG will keep telling you that this is your weak area or areas, you keep taking care of those things. That's it. So you don't really have to do anything extra. Just before a couple of months before GMAT, you take care of, you start with OGs. We don't have a GMAT. We don't have a GMAT course, Swapnil, but I'm there to take care of your doubts, so you don't have to worry. Theory, as I said, will be the same. Your doubts, I'll handle your doubts. Not an issue. Okay. And yeah, any other question, anybody? See, if Nishant or Raj, I think, is taking your class, then it will be sort of in English, I think. but mostly English, because we've asked them to put it in English, because I mean, to try to, as much as possible, keep it in English, because a lot of our students are from non-Hindi backgrounds and areas. And Chandra's will be 100% in English. And but then you can always, if you're sitting in, let's say, Nishant's class and he ends up speaking something in Hindi, and suppose you don't know Hindi at all, you can always say that, sir, can you just, can you try to speak in English, because I don't get it. So the idea is English. All right, Altaf. So I don't know if your question was because of that or because of the opposite reason, that you want it to be in English. If you want it to be in English, suppose, then I'm sorry, but we are more and more avoiding that and minimizing that, because we have a lot of students from the non-North belt. So, yeah. Okay, next question. Okay, so I guess you don't have, so I'll just say one more thing, which is that I've already told you that this is not the time to start looking for 5 articles to read every day, or whatever. There must be Telegram groups, Facebook groups, and some websites which probably do this. This is not the time, and my suggestion to you will be, please don't do this. I mean, don't go for that. But, and this but is an extremely unfortunate but, because I mean, it's, I don't know why students don't get this, but anyway, suppose you, for whatever reason, right straight away want to do this, and suppose you want me to do this. Now, I'm not a list person, so I won't be able to do that, but I will start sharing articles with you. But my problem is that I will share with you what I read, I come across, I read, and whatever. And that problem is that they can be quite often, not sometimes, quite often very dense and very heavy. So if at all, then, and I'll anyway start doing it from May, June onwards. If you want me to do right now, then remember this, that this is what is going to happen. And you shouldn't get dejected or depressed, or, this thing that you're not getting it and therefore something is wrong. No, right now is not the time to get those things. You have to graduate to those things. But if you still want, please let me know in the group and I'll do that. But my suggestion is go for books, and go for, right now, simpler books. Okay. Generally speaking, not, Altaf. First of all, we are starting with a morning batch for the first time. In fact, I'm not very happy with it, because I'm not a morning person. So I will really have to work hard to take morning classes. But yeah, it's not as if different teachers, no. Anything else? All right, cool, guys. Thank you so much. Take care. And please start with what I've said straight away. Don't even think about it. You want book recommendations, just tell me the area and I will tell you in the group, okay? So just tell me the area and I'll tell you the book recommended. And I'll try to tell you and just mention you want a easy book on that area, a medium book in that area, or a tough book in that area. And I'll try to give if I know anything about that area. Okay. Take care, everybody, and see you around. At least the ones who are going to be my students, life students. Take care. Is there a referral code? From where did he or she, from where did that person get the referral code, Altaf? Yes, Jatin, that's what I said. I was talking about books only, Jatin. Tell me, Altaf, where did this person get the code from? Ghat. I would suggest you speak with Dinesh on this. You know Dinesh, right? And so you speak with Dinesh. You probably message him on Telegram, and you speak with Dinesh on this. I am not aware of this. All right. Okay, Altaf. Reply. All right, cool, everybody. Take care. Good night. Bye-bye. Okay, Altaf. I think you speak with Dinesh. Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.